Hello, everyone. Bonjour à tous. I'm delighted to welcome you all to today's webinar featuring representatives from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or EBRD, who will speak about water and wastewater projects and related issues in Turkey. Clearly, there's keen interest in this topic, and that's reflected in the over 100 firms and organizations, both SMEs and larger firms, that have registered for this event. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you all. I should note that in addition to the firms and organizations joining the audience today, representatives from Global Affairs Canada and Export Development Canada, otherwise known as EDC, are among those listening in, as are officials from various Canadian provinces and municipalities. And we most certainly want to welcome those affiliated with the Turkey-Canada Business Council of the Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey, or DEC. DEC is a strong and longstanding partner of the Canada-Turkey Business Council, or CTBC, the group I am representing today. I'm Mike Ward, and I'm a former Canadian diplomat and the executive director of the CTBC. For those of you who may not be aware, the CTBC has been helping our members to increase bilateral trade and investment between Canada and Turkey for nearly 2 decades. We've been closely involved in some key milestones, including the decision in 2019 by the Canadian and Turkish trade ministers to establish the Joint Economic and Trade Committee, or JETCO, between our two countries. This was a significant development, since the JETCO will serve as an important catalyst to drive Canada-Turkey commercial relations to new and unprecedented heights in coming years. Anyone interested in joining the CTBC is welcome to contact me after this event. In terms of general housekeeping issues for the webinar, you will have seen on the welcome slide, simultaneous English to French translation is available. If you would like to take advantage of this translation service, you will need to have the latest version of Zoom. I should also note that the webinar is being recorded. As for today's agenda, we will begin with remarks by His Excellency Jamal Kokar, Canada's ambassador to Turkey. The ambassador will be followed by our featured EBRD presenters, Dr. Şule Kilic and her colleague Idil Gürsel. Please note that we will open it up for questions following the EBRD presentation. In this regard, please send us your written questions using the Zoom Q&A tab. And now, without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce Jamal Kokar, who's been Canada's ambassador to Turkey for almost a year and a half. In fact, almost as long as the JETCO has been in place. And it's been a very significant time, and he's had a major impact on Canada-Turkey political and economic relations in that short time. For example, he is playing a major role in shaping and managing the process for the upcoming JETCO meeting so that it will achieve meaningful outcomes in key sectors for businesses in both Canada and in Turkey. Now, among the ambassador's many career highlights is his unique history of working in senior positions in both the public and private sectors. But I want to mention, I'll start off with the private side. On the private side, for example, from 2015 to 2019, he was on leave from the Canadian government to serve as president and CEO of the California-based Institute of the Americas, which is dedicated to advancing innovation, entrepreneurship, and energy in the Americas. And during an earlier 2-year period, he was on government leave to serve as chief of staff to the president of the Inter-American Development Bank, or IDB, where he supported the bank's transformation renewal agenda and where he created a new Department of Outreach and Partnerships. So just to pause, this is why he's so well suited for the job that he's doing right now, because he's been involved in outreach and partnerships. He's been involved with international organizations, financial institutions. So this is terrific. Now, in addition to his current assignment in Turkey, key diplomatic appointments for this man that started out as a trade commissioner include Canada's ambassador to Brazil, and prior to that, Director General for Latin America and Caribbean, where, among other things, many other things, he was instrumental in developing Canada's America strategy. And again, we're going to use that talent for Canada-Turkey strategy. There is much more to his storied career. But let me leave it there for now. Ambassador Kokar, without question, we're delighted you were able to join us today. The floor is yours.
Well, Mike, that was very generous. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Merhaba, bonjour, Welcome, and thank you all for participating today. You know, I'm sitting here in Ankara at home, actually, although it looks like I'm at the office, but I'm at home. And it just goes to show you that the pandemic has required all of us to pivot to new ways in which to engage with each other. And of course, there are some upsides to that. And such online platforms allow so many more people from around the world and across countries that we're in to participate at low cost and without having to fight traffic. But I will say there are some downsides, and some of them are kind of funny. 2 nights ago, I was doing a very similar conference with my very dear colleague, Ambassador Karim Uras from Turkey, who's a Turkish ambassador to Canada. And I was 2 minutes late for this video, the start of the video. And I didn't realize it, but my cat had decided that she was going to step in and actually sat at this very seat where I am and stared into the camera for a good minute or two. There were a lot of video shots being taken, and that's been making its way around Twitter. So not only lawyers have cats, but apparently ambassadors have too. But there you go. We have no cats to worry with today, and I'm just delighted to be able to offer a few remarks to this opening webinar. And of course, as Mike said, with my experience earlier with other multilateral development banks, I'm very, very interested and very keen and excited about the type of partnerships that can be created between the Government of Canada, the EBRD, and private sector organizations, both in Turkey and in Canada. Now, as Mike also said, notwithstanding the fact I'm the ambassador, I'm actually a trade commissioner at heart. I started in the Government of Canada as a trade commissioner, and part of my genetic code is to help advance trade and commerce and investment, two-way trade between countries. So this is just perfect. And as many of you know, Canada's Trade Commissioner Service in Turkey is based principally in Istanbul, and we also at our Consulate General there, and we also have an office at the Canadian Embassy here in Ankara. But of course, with most of the trade being done in Istanbul, that's probably where you're going to meet with some of our team first. And what our teams do? Well, they're principally responsible for providing opportunities for assisting Canadian companies for trade and investment, joint ventures, not only in Turkey, but in Georgia and Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan as well, if you happen to be going out that way. And they cover a number of sectors, from mining to education, medical devices, and innovation. And of course, with Turkey being such a dynamic market with interesting opportunities for Canadian exporters, it's also an opportunity not only just to look at Turkey, but also to look at opportunities in third markets. And in this case, we're looking at Eastern Europe, but also in Africa. And we've had a success story just most recently where the premier Canadian construction engineering company has teamed up with the premier Turkish construction engineering company to deliver the construction of BOT project for a railway in Senegal. And there are several others underway. So I think as you go through this conversation, don't think just about this market or the regional market, but broader markets as well. We find that that Turkish companies are great partners, and we know that there are a lot of Canadian companies that can really take advantage of their expertise. Now, today's topic is on climate finance, and many of us know what climate finance is, some of us don't. So what is climate finance? Well, it's not necessarily such an easy question to answer, and I would probably leave it best to the bankers to describe, because I'm sure I'm going to get it wrong. But essentially, it's the financing that's made available through public, private, and alternative sources, such as bilateral organizations and international financial institutions, or more for local, national, or international projects or transnational projects, with the purpose of helping emerging markets, such as Turkey, mitigate the effects and adapt to climate change. But climate finance also obviously applies to developed markets as well, North America, Europe, Japan, and others. So it's not restricted to any one area. All these funds coming together are recognized as climate finance. And in and of itself, it represents growing opportunities for Canadian firms across a variety of sectors. So by taking on a variety of project roles, so project developer or service provider, a technology provider, Canadian firms can enter developing and emerging markets with the support of climate finance. So the Trade Commission Service, or TCS, we have a separate climate finance business development team dedicated to working with Canadian companies to access funding sources to undertake climate adaptation, mitigation, or cross-cutting projects in developing countries. And the team is comprised of 4 regionally focused climate finance trade commissioners. And today we're very lucky to have with us Rachel Suarez, who's the regional trade commissioner for climate finance for Europe and the Middle East, joining us from the Canadian High Commission in London, England. So again, the pandemic has actually worked out because I'm delighted that Rachel can join us, and perhaps that wouldn't have been the case had we had this meeting either in Canada or in Turkey, but it's all working out just fine right now. So, Canada has long been committed to continue playing a leadership role at home and internationally to maintain global momentum on global climate action and to ensure resources are available to achieve the Paris Agreement objectives, especially for the poorest and most vulnerable countries. And certainly we're very heartened to see the US now re-engaging and are even more hopeful that we can start to achieve some of those very ambitious targets, but very necessary targets that we're committed to. So through our $2.65 billion commitment to support developing countries in their efforts to build low carbon and climate resilience economies, Canada is committed to promote innovative solutions to mobilize private sector contributions, improve gender equity, and enhance global governance and international climate finance. And if you think about it, now that we're sitting in the middle of the pandemic, or hopefully towards the end of the pandemic, there's some key lessons that are to be learned. And that is that Canada believes that COVID recovery and stimulus packages must align with a broader climate change goals. Unquestionably, we've all learned that there is a link between our individual health, the health of our neighbors, the health of our communities, and the health of our planet. And addressing both those challenges requires us all to be working together. So investments in renewable energy and nature-based solutions, including in rural communities, can help achieve sustainable economic development and improve resilience. So I'm going to close off my remarks there. I'm delighted to stay on a little bit longer, but should you have any questions about the opportunities or more general questions about doing business in Turkey, please don't hesitate to contact members of our Trade Commissioner Service here in Istanbul or in Ankara. They're here to assist you with your exporting objectives, to make contacts and networks in Turkey, as well as others, such as the EBRD or in other countries. And at the end of this seminar, their contact details will be made available. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you for these few moments, and I invite you to learn more about the water and wastewater projects that our partners from the EBRD will be speaking about. And before I close, just thank you once again to the EBRD for this wonderful partnership. It's a great organization to work with, and we're just privileged to be having them with us today. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Kokar. Those were very useful and timely comments. You've certainly set the stage for the next part of the program, which will be devoted to EBRD. And for those in the audience, I'd just like to remind you that, that we will respond to written questions following the EBRD presentation. So, what I'll do is I'll introduce the 2 EBRD representatives now, and it's my privilege to introduce them. First, Dr. Şule Kilic and her colleague Idil Gürsel. Şule is deputy head of the EBRD office in Turkey, and in that capacity, she reports directly to the managing director, assisting him in delivering the country strategy with a focus on sustainable infrastructure and energy sectors. She's been with EBRD since 2014 and has more than 26 years experience working in a variety of initiatives in project finance, M&A, private equity, and bank acquisition. Well educated as well, she has a PhD in finance. Her colleague, Idil, is Associate Director for the Infrastructure Group at the EBRD Turkey office. And she's responsible for the EBRD's municipal, social, and environmental infrastructure projects in Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon. And the ambassador is referring to it's more than just Turkey, it's a region, it's a world issue, but she's responsible for Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon. Prior to joining the EBRD, she managed the project finance department at Guarantee Bank, and she was previous to that involved with infrastructure, the infrastructure team, securing loans for infrastructure and PPP projects. So I'll now turn the microphone over to Shule. Please proceed.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting us, and Mr. Ambassador, all the participants. It's a great pleasure for us to be in the today together with you. We are all at homes, Mr. Ambassador, and actually as EBRD, we are working at home for a year now. But business continues as it is, and I'm hoping to go back to, of course, looking forward to going back to the office. We have a presentation for you together with Idil, and I would like to ask my colleague to actually put it on the screen, and then we can start. In my presentation, I will focus on the part of EBRD and in Turkey. And then Idil will continue with the main subject of our event today. Most of you already know EBRD, and it is an international financial institution, and operations in 38 countries. And it is, although the name is Europe, actually it is a world-owned bank with 71 shareholders, which includes Canada as well. And our capital base is very strong, and it was established back in '91 in order to initially to make the former Soviet Union countries to get into free market economy. But then once the success of this mission realized, it was actually extended well beyond ex-Soviet Union countries. And with the 38 countries of operations right now, we are actually looking for new countries that we can extend our businesses, and probably the upcoming ones will be Iraq and Algeria, and then Sub-Saharan is also in our radar screen at the moment and in our strategy discussions. Next one, please. So you see here in the map the white, operation area that we have in the region. Next one. And in terms of sectors, actually, it's a wide variety of sectors. And today's subject of water and wastewater and waste management is actually covered under the municipal environmental infrastructure subsector. However, we have under infrastructure, we have transport, power, energy, as well as the logistics as well. We are also providing support to the manufacturing services and agricultural sector and other sectors, and also using the Turkish banks in the case of Turkey to reach out to SMEs, and that's why we have the financial institutions sector as one of the subsectors. Next one. And here you see our annual operations, and per annum, we are now able to do 11 billion euro of new business at the moment. And since '91, we have done almost 150 billion euro business in almost 6,000 new projects. And in terms of the distribution of our business and the total portfolio, you see that Turkey by far is the largest country of operation right now EBRD has. With the 14% of share, right now, Turkey is as if one of the regions of that we are operating. So that also shows how important and how big weight Turkey has in the total control, total operations of EBRD. Next one. And we have the 6 qualities, and in each of the project we finance, we try to look for at least 1 or 2 of those 6 qualities achieved. Of course, green is at the moment top of our agenda. And however, we also try to look for areas of improvement in the area of inclusion, resilience, integration, well-governance, and competitiveness. Next one. And coming to our sustainable infrastructure group, where myself and Idil are actually covering, we under the sustainable infrastructure, we have over 100 professionals, including myself and Idil, and those are based in London as well as in the EBRD countries of operations. And I need to say that from that point of view, Turkey actually is one of the largest countries in terms of the sustainable infrastructure team based in Turkey. Next one. And here you see our sustainable infrastructure team, and actually in the total bank's portfolio at the moment, it has the largest share again among the three main sectors, and with the 49% of the total portfolio, the sustainable infrastructure is servicing to the countries that we have. And under the sustainable infrastructure, we have the municipal environmental infrastructure, transport, and energy, and you see the distribution of this. And again, in terms of the distribution in the countries, again, sustainable infrastructure with the 12% is one of the largest countries of operations that we are very active when it comes to sustainable infrastructure. Next one. And this shows the split of the business in terms of MEI and transport. And transport also cover logistics, and MEI side, which we call it. And you will hear a lot this MEI language from us. It is municipal environmental infrastructure. And so these are the two main areas which under the infrastructure we cover. Next one. Coming to Turkey, we have set up the Turkey office back in 2009, and I actually joined to the bank in 2014 when the operations really start ramping up after the Russia sanction. Turkey became the largest country of operation. And as of today, we have invested 12 billion euro to 330 projects. And today our portfolio is 7 billion euro. Similar to the overall bank portfolio, again here you see that with 41%, sustainable infrastructure is actually has a big weight in the total portfolio that we have. We have over 100 people in our two offices. We have Istanbul office, which is 85 people, and 15 people in Ankara. And Ankara is mainly for our governmental relationships and policy dialogues that we are actively doing in Turkey in order to improve the regulations, legal base, and as well as introduction of the new models for the implementation of the infrastructure projects. And I need to say that our main focus in Turkey is especially the private sector. And compared with the other countries, I am proud to say that with the 93% of the portfolio being in the private sector, we are heavily focusing on the supporting the private sector in Turkey. Next one. So every 4 years, 3 to 4 years, we update our country strategies depending on the needs of the country. And we have very recently done that again. And based on this, we have determined the new priorities of our operation for the next 4 years, starting from the 2019. And here you see the 4 areas, which is basically the capital markets, deepening of the domestic and domestic capital and financial markets is one of the first priorities. Second one is knowledge economy and innovation and good governance. Third one is, of course, economic and gender inclusion, which is a very important topic at the moment. And the fourth one is green. economy and green economy transition and connectivity to the regional energy hub. So from that point of view, I need to say that we have also very recently updated our green economy policies, and we have now, it is called GET 2.1, Green Economy Transition 2.1, and any climate change related or energy efficiency related or environmental infrastructure related project is very important to achieve this mission for us. And one of the important things which I need to also say is in Turkey, commercial financings are very much limited to Turkish banks, and only few international banks are very active when it comes to financing long-term project financings. And from that point of view, as EBRD, we play a very important role to mobilize those international commercial banks into our financings by providing our AB loan cover, and also by acting as anchor investor when it comes to capital market transactions. So our big important mission is, on the one side, to support the projects to achieve certain missions like green, inclusion, and the rest, and at the same time to support the country by mobilizing additional financing to the projects that we are supporting. I think from next onwards, it is my colleague Idil who will be covering, so I'm leaving the floor to her, and happy to take any questions later on. Thank you. İdil'cim.
Okay, to take it from there, EBRD globally have an investment of almost 10 billion euros to more than 500 projects in the municipal and environmental finance. Just last year, we have provided 1.3 billion to 48 projects, and the current portfolio size in the countries of operation that Shule just mentioned is 6 billion euros. The biggest subsectors under the municipal and environmental sector is wastewater and water sectors, solid waste, and urban transport. Sorry. So when we look at the municipal finance, and this is more for Turkey specific really, we have various lenders active in the market. Private commercial banks financing municipalities, short-term and long-term financing needs, state-owned commercial banks. We have a municipal finance bank, İlbank, which is municipality and state-owned, which provides subsidized financing to municipalities for their infrastructure investments, and international financial institutions like ourselves, World Bank, IFC, AFD, KfW, and so on and so forth. So for the lenders, the products available in the market are domestic borrowing, which is if it is coming from a local bank, external borrowing, which is if it is coming from DFIs like us, and project bond issuances. Each of these different products are subject to different approvals. Take the external borrowing we provide is subject to foreign indebtedness approvals is provided by the Treasury. In the municipal sector, we provide a variety of loans. So the loan can be to the central government in one end, or it can be all the way to the private company. But most of our loans in Turkey are provided directly to a municipality or to a municipal company where the metropolitan municipality acts as the guarantor of the loan, which is described here in light blue. And we also observe in Turkey PPP structures when we work with municipalities, environmental infrastructure projects. And we see it mostly in solid waste projects. So municipalities under a concession agreement transfers the operation and revenue generation of the solid waste business under a PPP contract. In those cases, the bank may be willing to the concessionaire, which is a private company, but obviously the PPP contract between the company and the municipality has critical importance for us. So in EBRD, we have been operating since the Turkey office have been operating since 2009. We have an exposure of almost 500 million euros to 8 cities in Turkey and 12 separate projects. Our cities are mostly bigger cities such as Ankara, Bursa, Izmir, Gaziantep, Istanbul, Mersin, Hatay, Bodrum is actually Muğla. And in order to work with these municipalities, we mostly mobilize grant funds to help the project preparation and implementation. The municipalities generally lack the capacity to prepare their feasibility studies, environmental studies up to EBRD standards. So we support the cities to prepare their environmental, social, technical, feasibility, financial due diligence reports up to certain standards that is acceptable to us. So in this slide, we have the municipal loans we have provided since year 2010. We started with a light rail project in Bursa, continued with the clean water infrastructure, and then we financed CNG buses, clean buses in Gaziantep, a wastewater facility in Mersin, ferry purchases of Izmir. We have financed 2 Izmir metros. In Hatay, we have financed the water infrastructure. In Istanbul, we have financed 2 separate metro lines. And just last year, we have financed a CNG bus purchase of the city to transform their buses with clean buses. And in terms of the technical cooperation through grants, we help project preparation, project implementation. We support the city to create capacity and improve their management capacity, operational capacity. And if we are working on a PPP project, then we mobilize funds to help create a bankable PPP structure that can then be financed by the banks. EBRD's project approval process is maybe compared to a commercial bank slightly lengthier. So we start with a concept review of the project where we identify the project, assess the client, and decide whether the project fits our purpose. And while assessing this, again, it needs to be fitting our subsectors, strategy, and green economic transition objectives, like Shula mentioned a bit ago. And once we pass this process, then we start technical due diligence. Technical, financial, legal, and environmental due diligence is critical for EBRD to finance a project. With the help of those reports, we assess the project carefully, decide on the amount of the loan, tenor of the loan, and be able to obtain our credit committee approvals and then to board approval. And through this process, then we also help the municipalities with their tender, launch of the tender for the project. And then we move to signing of the loan agreement. Procurement is critical function of EBRD's public finance. All EBRD public projects are governed by EBRD's procurement policies and rules, and these are advertised in our website. in none of the countries of operation, EBRD joins financings of locally of projects that are procured by local laws. So when we approach a city for a potential project, we immediately inform them the tender for the project should not be according to local law. It should be according to EBRD's procurement rules. Our procurement rules are designed to promote efficiency and effectiveness and minimize the risk of implementation. As you may imagine, a few critical items in our procurement rules are that should be open to all countries, advertised in the EBRD web page so that everybody can see it and we can increase the competition, and no origin is favored during the tender. We have an e-procurement platform and the whole tender is carried through this e-procurement platform. So if you would like to see which projects we are working on, which projects are upcoming, or which projects are on tender, you can sign up to our e-procurement platform and you can see the general procurement notices there and follow the projects yourselves as well. Especially with cities, when we work with cities, over the last 5 years, we have developed a framework called Green Cities Framework, where we are targeting to identify green projects and also make a shift in the municipality's agenda towards greener projects in terms of prioritizing the projects, policy shifts in their own agendas, and then be able to finance those projects. In this Green City framework of the bank, this is basically a 1.5 billion framework. We are providing, we are working on a plan which is called Green City Action Plan. And we do our policy dialogues to make this action plan a policy for the city. So these Green City Action Plans covers all municipal investments, from urban transport to district heating to renewable energy, wastewater, water, energy efficiency, solid waste, and aims at prioritizing projects that are environmentally friendly, that are decreasing greenhouse gas emissions. Under EBRD framework, we have we have completed 8 Green City Action Plans in the countries of operation, and actually we have 7 GCAPs completed and 8 completed and enforced. And actually, if you see Turkey, we have Izmir marked in green, where we have a Green City Action Plan completed. So Izmir was our first green city from Turkey. We worked over a year with Izmir to identify the opportunities, and actually very recently Izmir have made our Green City Action Plan their policies through passing it through their municipal senate. So and the key figures over there indicate how effective it is in terms of reaching its goals. So we would like to, because you wanted us to focus on water infrastructure. And lately we have been discussing with Istanbul a lot of water projects. So we asked their permission to disclose their water projects to you. We don't keep a database of water and wastewater projects of all cities, honestly. But because we are working very closely with Istanbul on water, we wanted to disclose their projects to you. For example, they are mostly focusing on drinking water, wastewater projects, and they have almost 500 million euros of projects that are in their pipeline. We believe over the next 3 to 4 years, they will tender them one by one. And the biggest priority, as far as we know, is the project at the top, which is Cumhuriyet Drinking Water Treatment Plant. So I'd like to give a few case studies from our environmental infrastructure projects, just that you can understand how we work. We have provided to Suez a 57 million Turkish liras of loan for their waste treatment facilities in Çanakkale. Because this is a PPP, the lender in our project is the private counterparty, and the funds will be used to set up the mechanical pretreatment plant, RDF plant, compost plant, and procurement of vehicles that will be used for collection and transportation. Another project in the water sector is with Hatay municipality. We provided 3.5 million euros of loan, accompanied by almost €1 million of grant. You may know Hatay is a refugee city, so we were able to provide capex grants to Hatay. This is used for the replacement of 200 kilometers of water supply network in Samandağ region of Hatay. Of course, when we finance the project, we develop performance indicators and try to aim to minimize leakages, losses, and overall improve the infrastructure. Another one is in Mersin. We provided 20 million euros of long-term loan for 15 years to Mersin. That is for the construction of a new mechanical and biological wastewater treatment plant. The plant is being constructed right now, and it will be it will be subject to a 5-year operation to the winning bidder. And one of our first loans in EBRD, we provided 8 million liras of financing to Bodrum Water Company, which now has become the Muğla Water Company. So the proceeds of this loan has been used for replacement of the water network pipeline and extension of water network and rehabilitation of 2 reservoirs, rehabilitation of 2 wastewater treatment plants. Again, we supported the municipality by developing a 5-year business plan for them, and it's critical for us to be able to assess the performance of the asset. So we always set performance indicators and follow those. One of the rare PPPs in the waste sector was done by our client, Tahal Group and Akfen. So we provided 13 million euro loans to this group for their 2 wastewater treatment plants, one in Güllük with Güllük municipality and another in Dilovası organized industrial zone. So these were 2 municipal concessions, and the counterparty of the loan agreements were the private companies. In these projects, it's critical for those concessionaires to benefit from a fair, transparent concession with stable cash flows, with stable tariff mechanisms. I think this is all from us in terms of presenting what we have in Turkey. I think I can stop here and maybe give some time for questions. Mike, you're on mute.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to thank you very much for that presentation. Now, and thank you both. Judging by the written questions we've received so far, and you can keep sending them, the presentation has certainly generated interest on the part of our audience. Before we open the Q&A session, I'd just like to introduce two persons who will be available to answer questions directed to the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service. First is Naomi Gilker. She's Vice Consul and Lead Trade Commissioner for Clean Technologies in Turkey. Naomi has been working out of the Canadian Consulate in General in Istanbul for nearly 2 years now. She has oversight responsibilities for clean technologies, infrastructure, oil and gas, and transportation. It's her second international posting in addition to various assignments in headquarters. And the second person, the ambassador's already introduced, is Rachel Soares, the Climate Finance Officer for Europe and the Middle East, working out of the Canadian High Commission in London. And as the Trade Commissioner for Climate Finance, Rachel is focused on tracking financing aimed at climate change mitigation and adaptation in developing countries, while at the same time connecting Canadian climate change solutions with financing opportunities. So there are many on the call, I'm sure, that we'll be happy to make the connection with Rachel. Rachel's been with the Canadian High Commission in London for about the past 7 years. So now I'll invite the audience members to again submit your questions if you haven't already done so. And here's, let me just pick one. It looks like this would be for EBRD. As a technology provider interested in the Turkish market, what is the best way to work with the EBRD?
Maybe I can take, and Juliana may make her additions. We mostly come across infrastructure projects. So with technology providers, we are mostly embedded in the infrastructure projects. So I think the best way, at least the way that we see most often, is partnerships. Because we finance metros, water networks, wastewater treatment plants, stormwater systems, electric buses, together with metros, electrifications. So we finance mostly smart metering, for example, which is very, very common right now in Turkey. So most of those projects, maybe if it's smart metering, that can be separated because it's purchase of a equipment. But in most of the projects, we see the best way is to partner with local and international companies. In terms of smart metering, we haven't financed any yet. But I think new ways can be developed to finance those, like PPP schemes. And in that case, I think technology companies, maybe even without partnering, can find their ways because they are bringing the technology into the country. Shuli, would you like to add, or?
Sorry, I missed the beginning of the question.
So they suggested what are the best ways to for technology companies to enter into the market.
Okay. When it comes to water and wastewater, right? Especially. Yeah, I think it did already probably mention, sorry, I had some problems with my network and I need to reconnect. I mean, at the moment in Turkey, the water, wastewater, and this kind of environmental services are provided by the municipalities. And if any technology company would like to enter the Turkish market, they need to really look at the opportunities with those municipalities and their investment plans. And of course, when we look at right now the needs of the Turkey, we see that Istanbul, Izmir, Ankara, and those those kind of big cities are the cities, especially, who has a huge need of the investments to be made in order to improve the capacities. However, in smaller municipalities, the issues we are having is some of the technologies they are using are getting out of date and old technology, and because of that, also the existing infrastructure is getting old and causing water loss. And I think Idil has already shown you the case study of Bodrum Water, which is a good example from that point of view. And also like Mersin municipality wastewater investment made. Those are good examples of the projects, although rather maybe smaller size, but there are larger size projects as well. One of the issues which we are having at the moment in Turkey is because this responsibility is given to municipalities, however, it is not really their expertise, they are not really eligible to choose the very right technology. And sometimes they do the investment because they have to, but they are not really utilizing it. And that's one of the biggest issue Minister of Environment has already raised as the issue of Turkey, that there are those investments made, but they are not used, or they are not used efficiently, or utilization of those investments made are unfortunately too costly, and most of the time municipalities are simply switching off the, for example, the treatment of the wastewater and simply put circulating to the rivers, which is causing a big environmental issue. And for that purpose, Minister of Environment had one target objective to introduce the PPP model for the realization as well as the operation of the water and water treatment and wastewater management projects. The draft law is there. Draft template contracts are under the preparation, and actually Idil and myself spent very big amount of our time in order to support the Minister of Environment in that respect, so that those legislation and regulation have been introduced, so that the PPP model could be used for this purpose. And however, afterwards this COVID pandemic come up, and unfortunately, this project has been put into, postponed for the moment. And I'm very much hoping that Turkish Minister of Environment very soon will bring back this very important item on their agenda. And I think then the good knowledge, innovative solution providing technology companies of Canada may have a very good opportunity to explore the opportunities, maybe by not only making those investments, but also by operating and maintaining those investments in Turkey.
Thank you very much. Here's another one. Is it advisable to have a European partner or a Turkish partner when applying for EBRD procurement opportunities in Turkey?
Edith?
So, I mean, I would like to separate it into two again. So if it is, again, smart metering, which is mostly implementing a system, it may be, and also it depends on the tender really. If the contracting party does not really have to obtain the permits, so on and so forth, I think it's probably not a must to have a local partner here. But if it is a big construction business which involves civil works, machinery purchases, integration of all of those, and which involves dealings with the government and the municipality in a broader way, then of course having a partner who will open doors for you may be easier to implement.
Yeah, and maybe I should add to my colleague is that I mean, having a partnership with a Turkish company is especially necessary if it is a PPP model, because the PPP projects are long life projects, And generally the concession terms are longer than 20 years. And it requires a very close relationship building with the government authorities or municipality authorities. And in such cases, of course, dealing with the authorities in Turkey, language issue, culture issue and everything, I think there where the Turkish partner may be facilitator and very much helpful for the investors to have a smooth operation period for their projects.
Thank you very much. We have another question on the procurement process. And the question is, does EBRD get involved directly and or indirectly in the procurement cycle from the start, i.e. preparation of terms of reference, to ensure strict adherence to bank procurement guidelines?
Yes, the advisory we have been provided under the heading of technical assistance or cooperation involves a procurement support as well. Because the cities are not familiar with our procurement rules, we always hire advisors who work together with the municipalities, advisors themselves, to when it comes to drafting the tender documents, annexes, and also making sure the whole tender meets our requirements, timeline, standards. So, to be honest with you, all of the tender is reviewed by EBRD. But we have to make a point here. EBRD doesn't make the selection. EBRD just assists the municipality to follow how to follow our rules. At the end of the day, the tender committee is established by the city. It's city who's evaluating, while EBRD is observing if the city is evaluating as per our evaluation criteria. If there are complaints about the tender, the complaints first go to the tender authority, which is made of the city members, and also reviewed by EBRD. So during all of the tender until the contract signing date, our advisors are always on the ground working and monitoring with the city.
Thank you. We have a load of questions, so I'll move on. Short one. Is there a minimum project size for EBRD finance consideration?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm fully aware the presentation have very various amounts of financings provided to different counterparts. But I mean, I think we can comfortably say that an EBRD project preparation requires at least 500,000 euros of advisory. So procurement advisory, environmental and social standards, technical feasibility, technology due diligence, legal due diligence, all of those are really very costly. So it really is very hard for us to finance very small projects. And the small projects that I have highlighted here was probably our first projects 10 years ago. So we ideally want to achieve 10-15 million euros minimum. But sometimes when it comes to PPP projects, it can be slightly lower than that. The PPP projects are not fully prepared by EBRD. They are prepared by the concessionaire. So EBRD's job there is relatively lighter in terms of human capital we put in, and the grant funds. Basically, we don't spend any grant funds in it. And we would like to really open up PPPs in this sector. So even if it's slightly less, we may consider. But if it's, again, a 1 million euro project, it's too small for us.
All right. So we're getting close to 10:30. I wanted to check with our EBRD, well, the speakers. Would you mind if we extend for about 10 minutes? If there are questions left over, we can, of course, respond in writing to those that have submitted them. But if we have an additional 10 minutes to play with, I think we can fill the time, no question.
Sure.
Okay. Then I'll proceed. This is from a Canadian SME. How can we access potential projects in Turkey, provided that small entities, SMEs, are not necessarily able to take on large projects alone? And then there's a subpart to that question. Is it possible to connect us with large entities as potential partners in Turkey, as subcontractors with wastewater treatment and biosolid treatment expertise?
So, I mean, at least what I can say is that since all EBRD projects are announced in our website, and our projects have long periods to submit bids. So if you're following EBRD website e-procurement, say for Turkey subsection, then you would be able to see the projects immediately. So if there is a target project, the Canadian companies can bid themselves or form partnerships. Then they would have significant time, because our bidding periods are longer than the local rules. So that would be one opportunity. But other than that, also ourselves follow the regular publish press and magazines about the policies and the strategies of the cities. And that is how we also follow investment program of Turkey. So in the investment program of Turkey, we specifically go and search for cities to understand what kind of investment plans they do. And for us, we also speak with the cities directly, especially the 10, 15 top cities. We have very close relations regularly. So these are our channels.
Okay, thank you. This is related to an earlier question, but just to clarify, does EBRD support owner operators, government, as well as micro, small, and medium enterprise companies that have green solutions?
You want me to take it?
Istersen.
Yeah, well, of course, we do. I mean, as we have explained in our presentation, when it comes to authority side, we are trying to provide them the technical support and policy dialogue in order to help them or facilitate, provide support to them in order to develop projects and to choose the right method of realizing these projects, whether it is public procurement or PPP or some other ways. And when it comes to small and medium-sized companies, and our support to them could be in the form of debt or equity, or even few cases mezzanine financings. And of course, especially for the small size companies, we also provide support to them with our advisory team to help them to develop their businesses. When it comes to international companies, and if they have interest in Turkey, we are also facilitating them to meet with potential Turkish company as a potential partner, which they can consider as potential partner. So we can facilitate, because we are actually being active in this country over 11 years. We have very strong relationship with the Turkish corporates and clients. And I have seen in the questions that some of them are having difficulty to have good partner candidates. And I believe that we can also provide some support there.
Thank you.
If I can just jump in very quickly, I'd also say that sort of the role of the Trade Commissioner Service in Turkey is to help Canadian companies who are predominantly SMEs when they're looking to export. That's our main focus, our SMEs, to connect with some of the Turkish players. for some projects, it would be organizations like the EBRD. Otherwise, it could be some of the large holding companies who in Turkey, have projects across a number of sectors. And also one thing to keep in mind, and I think Mike mentioned, or the ambassador mentioned this quite early on, is Export Development Canada is also present in this market. So they have connections to some of the EPCs and holding companies as well. In some of those cases, we may be able to facilitate some introductions for certain projects and certain interests on behalf of Canadian companies. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Naomi. Well, we'll give EBRD a rest right now. I think this might be one for Rachel. What are the best ways to find climate finance related opportunities that a Canadian company can access?
Thanks, Mike. So as was explained, my role is very much to help Canadian companies who are looking to, who have a climate change solution and are looking to access emerging markets. And in a lot of those spaces, you end up having to partner with or work with or understand the offerings of international financial institutions such as EBRD. So that is ultimately the best way to be able to access climate finance. EBRD has recently announced themselves, and this was mentioned in the presentation, but to be a majority green bank. And so we're going to see a lot of opportunities and a lot more opportunities when it comes to partnering and working with international financial institutions when it comes to projects that are focused on climate change. And of course, climate change is very broad, so it can look at mitigation and it can also look at an adaptation as well. So it's also important to understand kind of how your offering, your product, your services may fit within that broader understanding and that broader definition, I should say. So I'm certainly here to help. International financial institutions are one of a few different actors in this space. A lot of countries across Europe have their own development financial institutions. And then there's a lot of private investors as well, impact asset managers and foundations and philanthropies. So certainly there's a plethora of opportunities should this be of interest to you. But again, for climate finance and specifically the role that I'm working in, it's very much to do with emerging and developing markets. So where the likes of EBRD works and the likes of, say, the World Bank and other international financial institutions as well. But happy to explain more should the individual wish to contact me and to get a better understanding for what type of markets they're looking at and what their offering is.
Thank you. Another question is, are there other markets in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, or even the Southern Mediterranean, where the EBRD sees water and wastewater opportunities?
I need to say that from that point of view, probably the best would be, because we are only covering Turkey with IDIL, and we have teams who are focusing on other countries and regions. And we have actually a sector director responsible for the Central Asia infrastructure, as well as another sector director for Eastern Europe and other regions. So from that point of view, anyone who has interest in those countries or regions, I mean, you have our contact details. Just send us email and we will be introducing you with the relevant people to discuss the opportunities in those regions.
Okay,
Maybe just to say, because I cover Jordan only out of the whole region, maybe I can just say, you know, Jordan is a very water scarce country. I'm sure Canadian companies know very well. And water treatment, desalination, conveyance projects are very important for them. And we have financed quite a lot of sovereign loans, the water sector in forms of sovereign loans. And you know that, I'm sure they know Jordan is very advanced in water PPPs, water and wastewater PPPs. So we have Suez operating there, we have GE and Gamma operating there. Jordan is committed to improve water sector much more. And obviously they have much more projects. You may know the Dead Sea project is very slow moving, and Jordanian government is trying to have another water conveyance project in form of PPP. That is the biggest project that all the international sponsors have eyes on right now. I can just add Jordan in addition to Turkey, but I'm also not aware of the other opportunities in the region.
All right. Well, we're at about 10:40 and Ottawa time, sorry. So what I'm proposing now is that I'll wrap up, we'll finish the question part, and I guess just in closing, I'd like to, I want to thank you all for submitting excellent questions, and I want to thank the EBRD and Canadian officials for providing very relevant information. And before calling on Rachel Soares to provide closing remarks, I just want to thank one last person for coordinating arrangements, and that would be Pinar Atakanli, truly dedicated trade commissioner working out of the Canadian Embassy in Ankara. Many thanks for your work in setting up today's event. And now over to Rachel.
Great, thanks, Mike. Yes, just wanted to say a few words on behalf of the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service, closing to thank everyone today for joining the webinar. And a special thanks to EBRD for taking the time to provide their insight into water, wastewater opportunities, but also to give us a bit of background as to how the EBRD works. I think this is very important, especially when we have Canadian companies who are interested in engaging with the likes of EBRD. It's understanding the processes involved. So this is a stepping stone, and we do really appreciate you taking the time. So this webinar has provided a bit of a snapshot into how working with financial partners, financial institutions such as EBRD can help you to open up business opportunities in new and emerging markets. So the Trade Commissioner Service here, we're here to help Canadian companies with their business development. So please don't hesitate to get in touch should you wish to better understand how you can work with international financial institutions or with climate-related private investors, or with Turkish partners. So we're here very much to help you in all of those areas. Please also get in touch should you have any questions on clean tech opportunities in Turkey. That's what the Trade Commissioner Services in Istanbul, based in Istanbul and based in Ankara is also there for. And contact details will be provided. I believe we have a closing slide where we have those details, but likewise, we can put that information in the chat as well. So that's it for us on our end. Thanks to those who were able to stay on the extra 10 minutes. We appreciate you taking the time very much so. Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody. And of course, stay safe and healthy as always.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Thank you.